voice, never wanting to reach out to coworkers or friends because I felt that what my daughter was going through was a failure as a parent. So being here today and actually being able to talk about it is something that I've been doing a lot lately. It's something that I think everybody should do no matter how hard it is. It's not a judgment on yourself, your parenting, and I've learned that now. Unfortunately for me, my situation is a little too late with Lexi, but I'm hoping to help somebody else's child with that. Just to give you an idea on some of the things that I would talk about openly about Lexi is kind of some of the things that Debbie has brought up. She was very creative. At the age of 7, she would watch architecture, a building that was being made, and a week later we would drive by and she could tell you exactly what they added to that building, what structure to it, what frame had, what new roof was put on, what new door was, and the features of that door. She could draw just about anything just by looking at it once. She could see a face and draw it. So she was extremely artistic and creative. She went to a school that embraced this for a really long time, and then, as we noticed at the age of 12, she started cutting, and we couldn't figure out why, and a kid at her school had brought it up. And during that time, she went kind of downhill, and the school finally said if she can't get herself back up, she's going to have to leave. And as a parent, it's hard for school to tell you your child just is too much to be here. And those are things when you go to work, you don't tell the person sitting next to you, my daughter's about to be kicked out of school. You just feel like you've done something wrong, there's something more you could have done. So Lexi was going through some transgender issues. She wanted to be a boy, she didn't want to be a girl because she didn't feel comfortable being a girl any longer, so these added to her issues. She went to a different school, a public school, because she couldn't go back to her charter school she was at, and the kids there weren't so open up to it. 3 days before she committed suicide, she had gotten jumped by a group of students because they found out she went dressed as a boy to her previous school's winter formal. They videotaped it, called her names. So there's a lot of issues going on. She had major depressive disorder. She was getting treatment at the Keynote State Treatment in Rogers Memorial. Unfortunately, she did really well there for a while. Unfortunately, she decided she wanted to live with her biological father, and he didn't feel the same. And it was back to the openness about me wanting to talk about mental illness with others. It was a thing, even my own parents, it's just normal teenage stuff. There's nothing going on with her. Lexi is fine. She's just doing what teenagers do. And I knew that was different. She had cuts every half inch of her body, legs to arms. I went to every mental health professional in Racine at the time that I could think of before we got her into Rogers Memorial. There was nothing at that point that we could do openly. There was not enough programming in Racine, which is why we reached out to Rogers Memorial. Even her own father felt that it was just a teenage thing. So he didn't continue the counseling for a while. And then Lexi went back into her dark stages, and that is my biggest message, is that even though treatment doesn't work for every child, they have to want to help themselves, they have to be around enough support. That's where everybody in this room comes into place. Anybody dealing with mental illness, whether it's in yourself or somebody you know, even a random person that you barely talk to, just a little bit of conversation and understanding is all that it takes. To know a parent that's going through this, and know that you're not judging means all the world. If I would have known that I could go to people that wouldn't judge, it may have been different, and I may have better resources. And with Lexi, I think her knowing that I wasn't talking about it and that it was almost like I was minimizing what she was going through, or I was ashamed. And I would never ever wish to make my child feel like that, or anybody else. So that is my biggest message to everybody in this room as a parent, is it's just like a child with diabetes or cancer. You would never not talk about your child's illness and be ashamed of it or feel like you're judged. And mental illness is the same thing. You don't want to be judged. No parent deserves to be judged. And until you're in that position, you really start to understand that there are just some things you can't control. And her favorite saying was, I can't drown my demons, they know how to swim. And Lexi would use that in every drawing she wrote, and it really makes me think about what she was going through. And it wasn't my problem to be ashamed of, it was what she was going through, and I should have been her biggest advocate. And I am now looking back at it, and I don't want anybody else's child to feel like at the end of the day, they need to take their life because life isn't worth living. talk about cancer and diabetes, and treatment does work. It doesn't work for everybody, depending on the circumstances, just like cancer treatment doesn't work for every cancer victim. But it does work when everything's put into place and you can never not try just because it possibly might not work, you know, and you keep getting out there and you keep doing it. And my mission has been to get out and speak on suicide awareness and prevention, and Racine it is something that it lacks. The schools don't want to deal with it. They don't want to talk about the kids that are having these problems. In the sense that I've had numerous parents, numerous students come up to me and open their arms and show me the cuts on their arms, and the parents have talked about what their kids are doing. And I realize there's so many of them. For the schools not to talk about it, for the community to not get involved, it's just heart-wrenching to me. And I want to be that person that can bring people together and know that this is not something to be embarrassed about. Suicide happens, mental illness happens, and the more we work together, the less mental illness may lead into suicide. And that has been my mission with the Lexi Legacy, and I'm hoping to continue all of that. And so like I said, my biggest mission is to talk about it, listen, and make sure that anybody around you, if they're not talking about what their kids are doing, the bad things their kids are doing, something's wrong. They need to know that they can talk about the not so good things, and sometimes it might be typical teenage stuff. All of you in here have heard these speeches enough to know when you can direct them to the right mental health professionals. And that is going to make the biggest impact for each and every one of us to carry on. And I appreciate you all being here and participating, because their program at Rogers has been wonderful. And since the day Lexi has died, they have been there for us. They have not forgotten about us as parents. Even though Lexi is not here, who was their patient, they have reached out to my family in every sense of the way. And that goes a long way for our family.